let's talk about the emergency since
Yes,
you've mentioned it.
yes,
And it's a big part of your own personal journey.
yeah, that's right.
You were ASG, law officer in the government, when Indira Gandhi declares emergency. And you quit from your post. And one of the self deprecating things that you write in your book is that you told your wife, I wish I was Attorney General at this point, because maybe somebody would have then noticed the fact that I resigned. And you say the New York Times, because the media, of course, at that time was not standing up to power. The New York Times had a one-line mention of the fact that you had resigned in protest as ASG. You move out of your official residence and you actually go looking for a home. And if I'm not wrong, where we're sitting talking to you today,
This is my
this is the
no.
home that became your home because you quit during the emergency. Can you take us back to that time and what you felt during Indira's
Yes, you
emergency?
see, there was another problem, which today is a very important problem. Sometime before the emergency, the Chief Justice Ray was moving into the Supreme Court building in his car when someone dropped two large bombs, alleged bombs, into his car, which never exploded.
Right.
It, of course, affected him deeply
Yes.
because he was confined to his bed for a few days and so on.
Yeah.
And this created a stir. The Attorney General, Niran Day, then spoke to the Chief Justice and said that that officers of the government who appear for government are in danger now. It's quite clear, and therefore we must have uh, something done for with respect to each of the three law officers: the Attorney General, the Solicitor General, and the Additional Solicitor General, which was me.
Yes.
And lo and behold, we had some chap move up to our place. My wife was very disturbed because he had to set up a tent on the garden behind
Yes.
in Safdarjung Lane, a very nice, delightful lane, etc. He had to be fed and given coffee and tea and so on, whatever it was. But one important thing, you see, that this business of protecting the people that comes to my mind, and which I must tell you, is that whenever I went out for a walk after that, in the evenings to in the Ashoka Gardens, this man would come with me, and I'd feel quite secure. Believe me, when I resigned,
Yeah.
for a few days, that resignation didn't permeate downwards or upwards, and nobody quite knew whether I had resigned or not resigned.
Yeah.
And the man remained with me for a while. Then, of course, the ministry moved him out. And for a few weeks after that, I felt insecure. How can I, Additional Solicitor General, going out for a walk
Not have
alone
security.
without a. You see,
Yes.
this strike must be striking all these ministers, etc.
Yes.
A whole host of them who are provided with all this paraphernalia
Yes.
of which is quite unnecessary to my mind. I mean, it's
Yes.
very rare that one has this problem of someone wanting to kill you.
Yeah.
Hardly anybody wants to kill anybody as such. Therefore, uh, this 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 evokes uh, a certain coterie amongst the elite, that I am deserve to be protected amongst everybody else.
Yes.
I am somebody important to be protected. I must have a guard around me, someone to walk in front of me, someone to walk behind me, and a car to go with me, a car to go behind me, which is quite unnecessary. Because when you see the Scandinavian countries, the king and all these chaps go on their bicycles all over.
But
The Indonesian president does the same thing. We don't.
apart from feeling initially insecure without your security,
But you have to work it out.
of course, what made you quit? Why, at a time when so many people caved? It was certainly not the judiciary's finest hour. It was the opposite. What made you?
Because I felt that I will never be able to appear for the government and make my submissions, which I used to make.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Yes.
It's a matter of conscience. That's all. That's all. Therefore, I quit, and that's something I quit from Bombay when my wife and I had gone for a week into Bombay, and
Yes.
and you see in the train we went by train. And I read that the Home Minister, this is before just 3 days before the emergency, that the Home Minister and the Home Secretary, sorry, the Home Secretary had been changed. A new Home Secretary had been brought from Rajasthan. I took no notice of it. Maybe,
Yes,
maybe not
yes.
be. But that perhaps was an indication that something was afoot. And then came, of course, Mrs. Gandhi, the refusal of a complete stay by Justice Krishna in Mrs. Gandhi's election case in the Supreme Court.
In your book, there's a very interesting story. You've quit as ASG and you are out for a walk with the then Australian High Commissioner, who's your friend, and
Mr. Grant.
Mr. Grant, and he has met with Mrs. Gandhi, with Indira Gandhi, and she has said to him,
she was surprised.
That she is surprised that there was virtually no resistance, especially from the intelligentsia.
Absolutely correct.
That was quite a story.
That was quite a thing, yeah. And I believed him. I mean, because he told me this. I mean, a few days after he met her, because he used to walk on and the Ashoka Ghat.